broke it right off. Okay, so probably should replace all of these if they're that weak. Alright guys, a couple of projects we're going to work on in this video. Better shock absorber. I assume this is better. I don't know. I bought it on Amazon. It was a name brand. It's an air shock of some sort. Maybe too heavy duty for this application, but I'm going to try and make it work. The bottom is too wide, so I got to cut this off, and even then it's just barely going to fit. So I'm going to have to work with that to get it to fit inside the swing arm. It's longer than the other one, but I assume it's going to compress down some. We'll see. And I don't have the kit to let you control the pressure, so I got to get one of those. I had it at one point, but I've had these on the shelf for so long I lost that kit. So we'll get back to that. While I'm doing that, I had mentioned I was going to do some reinforcement to the strut tower, or shock tower, whatever that thing is, because the welds look janky, and if that ever snaps off, it's going to end very poorly. So I'm going to weld in some angles. Well, I still have the welder before I give it back to my buddy that loaned it to me. You may not have seen this, but we got black lug nuts, and I painted this cap black, so it looks a lot better now. That was a huge improvement. You can kind of see I've been riding this thing in the foul weather, if not rain. Generally, it's been holding up great. You can see there's a bit of a lean. I'll pop a picture up on the video showing a picture I took with my kids where you can really see that it's leaning. So I need to take care of that. So we're going to readjust those struts. I'm not looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of freaking work. For now, we're working on the fender in here. It's got to be a fender. So it's going to be a lot more open. It'll be easier to get the tire on and off. But generally, it's about the same size. So that's nice. This is slightly larger for a bigger tire. This is designed for a 13-inch trailer tire, which is what I've got. It's got what looks like a step on top, but obviously you need one of those stickers that says not a step. Because plastic fender, it's just going to snap if somebody steps on it. But yeah, I should be able to catch this front mount, and big flat on the back side. I should have no problem catching the back mount, and I just have to space it out accordingly, and it's going to work great. So I'm really excited with how well that's going to work. And then I just have to hang the fender on the back of it. So honestly, I'll probably just put the fender all the way down. Then I don't have to worry about it pointing up, because you can see it's pointing up right now. It looks kind of dumb doing that. So I put it all the way down. That'll be no problem. No more cracked Bondo. The Bondo's all cracked along here. As you can see, it flaked off when I bowed this out to clear the tire. It's properly wide to clear the tire now. And it's so wide it fits over the top of this without even touching. So we'll start with getting this off. I'll get a jack stand under it so I can take the tire off, and then we can work on the shock. And after we get the shock done, or actually when I get the shock off, I'll weld in the pipe reinforcements. Good bearings, huh? So I've got 200 miles on it now. I think the bearings are loosened up a little bit. So I'll probably pull the cotter pin out, give it another turn or two, and that'll tighten them back up. But yeah, definitely no bad sounds, and it's working great right now. So they just simply broke in. You may have seen my post. I'm now selling t-shirts. I'm not wearing one yet. This color is one of the options. So if you want to support the channel and you like the channel, go ahead and wear our swag. I priced them relatively low. I still make a little profit thanks to Teespring, but I think the prices are reasonable. Certainly cheaper than a Harley t-shirt. Alright, there we go. Alright, so I got the cotter pin out. That was pretty easy. And we're just going to try and make this a little bit tighter with my rusty channel locks. There we go. And there's that cotter pin hole. There it is. Okay, so that hole. That hole. Things are really tight. Just drilled the hole in the worst possible spot. It'll break in. At least it's not wiggling anymore. The problem when you have this too tight, you can't get a proper film of grease between the rollers and the raceway. So it wears it out really fast. So if it does wear it out really fast, I'll know that was the problem. I could probably change the thickness of the washer behind it if I had more washers to choose from. Alright, let's put the cap back on. Let's hope I don't have to hammer it back on. Yeah, there we go. It's just going back on by hand, I think. There we go. Cool. So it's not quite as free as it used to be, but it's certainly not bound up. Alright guys, we're just going to zip through this section. I took the tire off, I decided on the ground to break the lug nuts free, then I got the tire off, then I undid the shock absorber and pulled that down. Did some quick spray painting to primer up the axle that was starting to rust from where I'd welded it in. And finally I just started comparing the new shock absorber. Well, that's where we're going to pick back up. Alright, let's compare the height of these two real quick. So, I've got probably an inch higher. Not too bad. But it is going to push the sidecar up, so when I readjust it to bring the front end up, it'll be more of a case of bring the back end down. So, yeah. That's why I'm doing this before adjusting the angle, because this is going to screw with it. Then I got to figure out how much it's going to compress, but we'll figure that out when I put the tire back on. Anyways, let me get some safety goggles and you guys can watch me grind away at this. Alright. Got a little deeper on this side than I needed to, so I was kind of trying to clean it up. Then I figured since I did it on this side, I might as well do it on that side. Now, I think that this bolt might be actually too small. Yeah. So I'm going to go up to a bigger size bolt if I can find something at the local hardware store. It needs to be this long, and I don't know what size that is. Actually, I can take the piece that I cut off with me to the hardware store. It's a big bolt, that's for sure. And then I'll just use my unibit to hog those out. Or actually, I'll have to use a real drill bit. Yeah, that's going to be fun. You know my success drilling through this thing already. But hey, it'll give the paint plenty of time to dry. Let's see if it fits now. And I can always do my test fit and see how the compression works with the wrong size bolt. Now I kind of want this pointing inboard here. Okay, fits in there. Nice. I found a spacer that's nearly the perfect length. In fact, I think it is the perfect length. So the strut is spaced, or the shock is spaced out the right amount, and it'll work. I've got temporary bolts through both of these. Neither of them are long enough to even put a nut on, but at least it'll make the shock actuate. Put the tire on. Alright, now the shock absorber. Let's adjust some. I don't know about this shock absorber. Let's give it some air and see what it does. There we go. Alright, now it goes all the way down. Yep. Try and keep it like that. Okay. Oh, nope, still not enough pressure. Yeah, I need to come up with the airlines for this next. That's fine. Anyways, at least I know it works. Because I certainly couldn't press it before. Since I got time to kill, I'm just actually working on the cross braces that I mentioned. So I've cut, you know, some kind of angle. Certainly probably not 45. But one of these two angles is going to let it come down. I want it to land right around here. So I measured that with my tape measure, you know, from the top of this angle down to there, you know, roughly 10 inches. So I'm going to cut this to about 10 1/4, and we'll trim it from, what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to cut it square, I think. I don't know. Maybe I'll cut the angle that I need right now. But what I'm first going to do is mark this. So I'm going to go 10 1/4 right here. There we go, perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Alright, I've got the two struts made. These are going to just reinforce this tower. This one's longer obviously, but I've got more room to work with over here. And it's all going to be hidden behind the fender anyways, so I just need to grind off some paint so I can get down the metal. In these joints, and I got to clean off this pipe because this is a gas pipe from the hardware store, so it needs to get cleaned up. And I know which one was which since one of them's longer. All right, get the welder out. Get this tacked down and get her done. Glad I welded the axle better than that, but geez, it's not great. Anyways, there's the supports. I don't have to worry about that thing popping off, but boy, I have to worry about people looking at my welds now. Alright, back from the hardware store. I've got all kinds of hardware now. If it's 6-inch, I've got this one. If it's 5-inch, I've got one that's zinc. Well, go through like this. And I've got my spacer. This is the spacer I came up with. I don't know what it's from, but it's the right size. And go through here. Nope, that's not 6-inch. I had a feeling it wasn't going to be 6-inch. Alright. Port that way. And that. Let's hope this is the right one. Yes, that is actually. It's perfect. Very nice. I've still got to drill this bottom hole bigger. I wanted a 5/8 by like 3 for down here, but they didn't have 5/8 and anything less than 4. So the joys of, you know, Lowe's. I just find a drill bit that's big enough, run it through there. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit, wipe down all the over splatter from the welder, and spray it all the way through, no problemo. So we fit through quite nicely. So that's what it's going to look like. It comes through. I've got a washer for each side and a lock washer for the side with the nut. So this can come through. There we go. Got a lock washer on there, so I assume I don't need Loctite on this. This is 17. It's going to be 19, isn't it? Yeah, 19. So let me get a 19 wrench. And I can just go ahead and tighten this down now. Alright, good enough now. I don't want to have to deal with overspray on the body, so I'm going to cover that. Alright, now we're moving on to the fender. I just want to get a shot, show that the tire, you can't really tell from this view, the tire's not square to the body. It's still, you know, if I were to measure from here to here, oops, sorry, let's get the camera in the right spot. From here to here, it would be a smaller distance than back here. See, I can just barely get my hand to that wide back here, and up here it's nothing. This is about how far that tire is up there, so that kind of poses a little bit of trouble. Anyways, before we get to that, I have painted this, and so that's nicely reinforced. There's my horrible welds once again. Never gonna learn to weld. Like I was saying, I feel like I just kind of threw some metal on top of it. Who knows? At least this doesn't have to be structural. This was supposed to reinforce, but who knows? But it's got a fresh coat of gloss black on it, primer and everything, so it should be good. I've got the new shock installed, the spacer, so it's not at an angle anymore. It's here. Let's get a view from the back. That shock is pretty well going straight up and down now. I'm much happier with that, and it's not going to rub the tire. It's an air shock. I got to get the air kit for it, and then I can pump it up and down with a bicycle pump. I'll carry a really small bike pump, and I can just adjust it based on how much load is in the sidecar, and I won't have to fight the steering so much anymore. Now, got the new fender. I didn't record it, but I put the new tail light on it. So if we pop a peek inside, there it is. I did my best to get it square, and I think I actually nailed it. And then I cut a hole in the middle for the grommet to come through. And I don't have to worry about actual grommets protecting the wiring so much anymore, because the wiring is going through plastic now. This whole fender is plastic. So anyways, I did a test fit, and I don't want to do too much right now because the paint's still a little bit wet, but yeah. So this is going to sit something like that, and I can adjust it so it clears the tire. It's going to be mighty close to that shock, but it'll be fine because the fender doesn't go up and down, and the shock is as low as it'll go right now because it's not got air. So I can set this thing, you know, all the way down where it's virtually against the tire, but just above it. And then I'm going to do a spacer so that this thing's not quite on that. Yeah, some kind of spacer. You know, I don't need as much as I thought I was going to need. But yeah, more spacer here means less potential interference with the shock, especially when that bladder is pumped up. But I think the bladder will, actually the bladder is going to be always lower than this point, so that'll help. The back of this fender is lower than the front right now. Here, let me get this on a tripod and I'll show you what I'm working with. So the mounts for this are down here. So I'm inclined to, you know, just use them. I shouldn't need a spacer, but maybe I do. Yeah, maybe I will have a spacer between the front and here. But yeah, I can put it, this is as low as it's ever going to go. I'm getting yeah. So as long as I have, you know, I can honestly just stick a socket up here on top, set that on there. That's all the clearance I'm going to need. So I've got to come up with something that comes off of this. So this is turning out pretty well. What I've got is the suspensions all the way down, and I've got that socket up here above the tire to keep this thing spaced up off the tire. The rest of the time the tire will be a lot lower, so there's going to be a lot more gap between the tire and the fender, which is fine by me. Now, I want this thing to be as centered as possible on the tire, which looks like it's going to put it right about here. So I've got, you know, about an inch gap. There, we're centered pretty well. I'm going to drill that hole, get a bolt through it, and then I'll drill the second hole. There's the spot. Nice thing about the grass is I don't have to worry about it scratching scratching up the finish. I don't know if that's paint. It kind of acts like paint, or if it's just gloss plastic. I don't know. Alrighty, there's one hole. Okay, so let me show you what I've got going on. I want the carriage bolts on the inside so that they're flush to the tire and everything, but I gotta get the carriage bolt to sink into the plastic. So I'm putting a nut on, and I'm just doing it like that. So there we go. All right, now I can center punch that second hole. So this is about the angle I want. Well, let's make sure it's exactly the angle I want. It's gonna be stuck here. I like it. That's about as square as I want it to be, or need it to be, really. And I can center punch the second hole. This one's gonna have to be really perfect. Perfectly centered. Otherwise, it's not gonna line up properly. There we go. All right, we've now got, boy, this thing's static clingy. We've got both bolts in there. On the inside, we got nice. So the only problem I'm really running into right now is that the metal that this goes through is so freaking thick. They overdid it, really. That it's like 3/8 inch thick or whatever. So I'm barely getting the top of the nuts, or the bolts, that is, with the nuts. So I won't be able to put a lock washer on there. I'll have to use Loctite. It should be fine. Now let's see if I got these correct. You know, guys, I spent no less than 20 minutes fighting with the front two bolts on this Fender, trying to figure out how I was going to engineer it. I cut out most of it. Here's just the briefest view of me working on it. Alright, let's start with the Fender. It's attached pretty securely now. I mean, yeah, I think it'll be fine. I got 2 bolts here, we got 2 bolts back there, lock washers on everything, so I'm pretty happy with it. When I tighten this one more, it kind of makes it fold inward, so maybe I don't have enough spacer washers behind it, but that's how that's going to be. I'll bring you up. I got the kit for the air shock, so here's some of that kit. It's essentially a Schrader valve and some hose, and we're just going to attach the two together, and it's going to work nicely. There we go. Well, I can't see that on camera, but I brought it in right there. So this will be able to stick through. Just like that. There we go. Let's back it up and you'll be able to watch this thing bounce. Well, maybe not bounce, but you know, lift nicely. Up we go. Okay, that's clearly too high. Oh, there we go. It's interesting. Okay, that's definitely too much pressure. I gotta admit, I don't like how that's working. seems to be too soft. Needs a certain amount of weight on it before it rides at the right height. And one that's got lower pressure in it. It's too low. It's too easy to bottom it out. So I'm not liking this at all. After pondering what the hell is going on, I think I figured it out. I want the shock pumped all the way up so that it's all the way up. I'm trying to, set it somewhere halfway, and it's just not meant for that. So I need to put enough pressure in there that it's all the way up, and then readjust the connection to the bike so that it works with it all the way up. Now, all the way up, and then I set the pressure for how much it can come down. So yeah, this is the right way to do it. This is how the other shock worked. It would be essentially all the way up until you put load in it. So, and then the pressure sets how much sag I get, which is nearly nothing. But yeah, this is the correct way for it to work, though. So, and then I just have to adjust those mounts on the bike, which I need to do anyways. So. Cool, this will work. At first I was like, why can't I get it to stay in the center? And yeah, I'm expecting it to do something that it doesn't do. They've got those ride height adjustment kits for air shocks, but these are not those kind of air shocks. Alright guys, what I had hoped was I would be able to set this shock to a specific height, but it's not that kind of air shock. What it is it goes all the way up, and you can set, by the pressure, how much sag you get. Like right now it's at really low pressure, so I get a lot of sag. But I'll put some more air in there, and we'll set it so it doesn't sag hardly at all. And then I'm going to adjust the struts that link the bike to the sidecar. As you can see, especially with that up, the whole sidecar is pointing down this way. All the way up. Yeah, we're all the way up again. So this is all the way up. I need to put more air in there because it's obviously not holding right now. But so I'm gonna try and bring this corner up. I'm gonna try and not lower that at all. I just want to bring this quadrant up. And I'll have to adjust these accordingly, and hopefully this thing sits level when we're done. In fact, I'm actually going to get the level out and make sure it's level, because the bike and sidecar are essentially on level ground right now. I may have to adjust these a little bit because I think the bike is leaning outward a little bit, and I need to unlock the forks. Alright, I loosened it all up and it all starts collapsing in on itself, which makes the job 10 times harder than it even should be. So I'm gonna have my girlfriend come out, give me some assistance with this. So yeah, it's all collapsed and out of alignment real bad right now. This is not a project I've been looking forward to. I'm pretty well gonna have to start from scratch on getting this thing aligned. It's a pain. At some point I'm gonna get the level out and really level this, but for now I just kind of yeah, hold the bike. You know what I should do is I should probably just take these struts completely off. Really bring this front end up. this to come. Actually, no. According to the way this is sitting, this still needs to come up. I'm probably going to have to undo these too. Okay, where you look pretty darn level here, let me go get the level. Here it is. This direction, wow, we're level. And this direction, I'm going to check down here. Oops, we're just a little bit too high. This is outside. See, we're pretty darn level there. Bubbles within the margins. I'm going to call this back pretty darn close enough because I don't have infinite adjustability on my jack stands. That one's perfect. Well, this sidecar's sitting a lot higher now, isn't it?
Do you want it that high?
It's what I got to do. Let's see what it takes to get it level. I'm almost thinking that I need to take the short one and put it up here. Put the long one down there, but the bike is leaning out too much, so. Okay, let go of the bars for a moment. Come down here and grab this lower swing arm. See the metal part? We're going to pull. Perfect. Pick up the back end of the bike. Yeah, now it's sitting the right height. Let me get a tape measure. Okay. So, from there to there, I've got 14 inches. There to there, I've also got 14 inches. Interesting. Where's the end of this thing? We're longer than we need to be, which is good. But how much extra? Not much. So I'm going to put a mark on here so I know how deep it needs to be. So this necked down part are my threads. So I want it at least all the way engaged in the threads. So minimum of that deep. Anything more than that, it leaves the threads and it's just sticking out in the tube, so that's the minimum. There's a different type of connector that you can get that goes between joints like this, and when you twist the middle, you twist it one way and they expand, and you twist it the other way and they contract, you know? Mm-hmm. So you just turn the middle, you loosen the lock screws there. One side's a reverse thread. And that's kind of what this thing needs right now. Yeah. Would help with this, wouldn't move much. Okay, a lot of the reason why it's farther apart is because that one's bottomed out up there.
Do you want it this far apart?
It's what I've got to go with at the moment because that one's bottomed out. Short of being able to cut that one shorter. I don't have a choice right now. I probably have to cut this one shorter too. So we'll just go with this and see where I end up. I want to tighten this like I did all the others because it's probably loosened up some. Yeah, good. Okay, something like that. Yeah, that will work for those two. Okay, we're still a bit too long. Okay, now I'm going to take this zip tie off. I'm going to undo this lock washer. Alrighty. As I learned the last time, I'm going to tighten all the nuts up before I take it off jack stands. Now front end's going to come down a little bit because I don't have all of the weight on the front suspension, but it'll be fine, I think. It won't go down enough to be a big problem. Whoops, gone too far. I'll put a fresh one on when I'm done. Yeah. Okay. And
That one was way so easy.
What's that?
That one was easy for me.
Yeah. Okay, so we're generally attached. I generally don't have any way of confirming that I've got the alignment right until I try to ride it and fight the steering or something. At which point I gotta do this all over again. Yeah, isn't this great?
Do you just have the kids put their foot on that instead of
Yeah, and I think the foot peg has to be there by law because the law says that you can only have enough passengers as you have foot pegs.
Ah.
So I'll just leave the foot peg there and be like, okay, officer, I had one.
Yep.
So I can't have 3 people on here. Okay, that's as tight as I can get it with this. I'll switch to breaker bar and tighten it some more.
Is it because the breaker bar's longer?
Yeah, longer, more leverage. So I think it was Archimedes came up with the saying, give me a lever long enough and I can move the world.
Yeah, I've heard that saying.
Yeah, it's a really old saying. Alright. Okay, that one's as tight as I can get it with the wrong size wrench. And all of those are tight now. Got blue marks on all of them. Which two? I didn't loosen those. I can probably double check them with the 17. And a little bit tighter. There we go. Okay, now let's move on to this bar. Broke it right off. Okay, so probably should replace all of these if they're that weak. Maybe I was torquing it too much, but I don't think so with that thing. So if that happened while I was riding, that would be bad.
You don't have any extra extra screws, do you?
No, no, and I wouldn't want to put it together with bolts that can do this at all. Generally, I don't think I should be able to snap a bolt this big that's, you know, got a rating of 8.8 on it by hand. This is something that even an air tool would have a hard time doing. Maybe not a reasonably sized one. So, to the hardware store I go, and then I got to replace all of these with
But what sucks is, like, this is a different size than that, huh?
yeah, I'm not going to replace these.
Oh, okay.
These are okay. I'm not torquing them quite as much. Maybe I should, but yeah, these are the ones I'm concerned about. I mean, yeah, there's an inclusion in this. See the different type of metal sticking straight up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's called an inclusion. And let me see if I can get that on camera. Yeah, it's bad metal. So I was still using the stupid bolts this thing came with, even though I shouldn't have. Alright, so here's the bolt that broke, obviously, the freaking inclusion that was in there. And yes, these bolts say 8.8 on top of them, so can't hardly tell. It's probably, you know, obviously these are fake. Probably came out of China or something. Then you can kind of tell better on this one. 8.8. So the one that snapped, the 8.8, even looks funny on that one. So but it says TVS on top, and that's all grungy. Given that these probably came out of Russia, I mean, I'm surprised it's even written in Latin letters. So the hardware guy says that these are grade 8. These are 1/2 inch. Lot coarser thread, but they didn't have fine thread. I'm not sure if it's coarse thread or fine thread that's stronger. But, so I got nylocks and lock washers. So these are really going to stay. I didn't get normal washers, and I got these a little bit longer, see, although one of them is short like this was. So let's take that castle nut off. He's like, did you want castle nuts? I'm like, no, I don't want castle nuts. It's stupid. Anyways, see, yeah, exact same length. So this will be the one that goes near the foot peg for the passenger foot peg. So I can't have that one any longer. It was already as long as it could get. Hopefully I can get this nylock down far enough, but even if I can't, at least I'll have a real lock washer behind it. So yeah, this nylock's kind of big compared to, yeah, about this, yeah, a little bit bigger than the castle nut was. So get rid of these crappy bolts. Who knows how strong these nuts even are. But anyways, yeah, I need these things to be able to clamp like Mad Hatter. So let's get back in position. I'll start swapping all these out. Alright, I'm going to start with the one that broke. See if I need to drill these holes out any bigger or what. Yeah, I might need to. Yeah, let's grab my drills. Stubborn thing. Whatever. Ever so slightly, not big enough. 1/2 inch. There we go. Point this downward because it'll look better. There we go. Now we got a lock washer and a nylock nut. Okay. Let's see what size these are. Are they 19s? Yes, actually. 3/4 inch probably, which is the same as a 19 really. I'll get this snugged up a little bit and then we'll do the lower one. There we go. So now a 1/2 inch hole. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, that's good and tight. So, you've been tightened. You've been tightened. wish I had the right size for this. Okay, that's as tight as it's going to get. That one's as tight as that's going to get. And I've got a blue mark there. So, blue mark here. Blue mark here. That's tight, that's tight. That's tight. Okay, that's tight. So let's replace these now. There we go. Those are both good and tight now. Locked there, locked there. Good deal. Now we can move to the front. Now we can do this one. So I extended it that much more. Now, the sidecar is a good 2 inches farther out than it used to be, at least, maybe 3. Oh well. It does give that one a nice straight line, the one, the lower one back here. I don't know if it's on camera right now, but it's got a nice straight line now, which is good because that gives it proper triangulation. I suppose this one's a nice triangle too. No parallelograms going on. Yeah, that one's good and snug too. Okay, so I got that one tight. This one's tight. Yeah, we did this one. That one's tight. That one's tight. All right, now we'll release the jack stands because okay, I want to tighten these real quick. Just double check them anyways. And let's put some blue lines on here so I know I didn't forget. All right, it says we're level here, and let's put some weight on the bike suspension and get these out of here. There's that one. All right. it's not very secure. All right. It is leaning forward still, but only by a very small amount. And back. Back looks pretty darn level. If anything, it's a little bit high on the bike side, but if I sit on the bike, I imagine that would fix it. I don't know if the bike is level. I feel like I'm leaning out a little bit. We'll see. Put somebody in there and get it to come down a little bit. It might be better. But like I said, that shock doesn't really work like that. It just, you set how much pressure to keep it at full mast. I kind of got to figure out. I can't make that top one shorter to pull the bike over. And I can't make the bottom one longer to push the bottom out. I'm almost kind of stuck like this. We'll see. Maybe it'll be fine with it. The way the road leans down, maybe this will be just right when I'm on the road. So, next up is a test ride, I guess. And clean up my tools. So, Boy, that sidecar is a lot higher now. It is significantly higher than it was before. All right, we're done now. So yes, you can see it is sitting much higher than it used to. Between the taller tire and the longer shock, which does have to be extended all the way to work properly, this is how high it sits. So, but it's working, and we got the new Fender on, and it's working. Brake lights wired back in, although I'm having trouble with my brake light switches on the bike itself, but I'll get that figured out soon enough. And everything is level now. The frame of the sidecar is pretty damn level with the ground. It might be 1 degree off, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. You can see the fender ended up pretty level too. I'm holding the phone level with the ground, and you can see it's pretty level. So, okay, now we're on wide angle lens, so you can kind of see it a little bit better. So, they are farther apart, but it still fits in a car lane just fine. It's not like I'm barely fitting or anything. I had my girlfriend in there, and I could not fly that sidecar at all. It's just too far out to fly it, which is fine by me. I mean, I don't need to fly the thing. When I didn't have her in there, I took it around the block. I was able to fly it pretty easily, and I tried holding it as I went down the road, and it turns out my front end starts wobbling. So maybe I do need a steering stabilizer, like everybody keeps insisting. So the bike goes down the road straight. I'm not fighting the steering at all, so the alignment worked out. Yeah, so somehow I keep lucking out and getting the alignment pretty well spot on. So I guess I'm just lucky like that. So, but yeah, I've done a good 20 miles empty and with my girl in there, and all the struts are holding. Nothing tried to adjust itself while I was riding, which was only a problem the very first time I took this out, when I didn't realize how tight I needed to make everything. But now everything's good and snug and seems to be holding just fine. So, and you can see my new support braces. They're all gloss black and in there nicely. So yeah. So it just had this bar coming up, and as you saw when I welded it earlier in this video. So I'm just rehashing old stuff that I did a week ago as I'm wrapping up the video. The shock absorber is not leaning inward anymore. It's pretty well straight up and down. This little black cover is kind of crooked because it doesn't really fit in that hole. But yeah, I'm pretty happy. Not entirely happy with this shock. I have to put a whole lot of pressure in there to keep it up. But our first attempt riding it around town, I think the hose going into it wasn't properly sealed, and we came home with it completely flat, so it was leaning off to the side. So that wasn't very cool. So hopefully that was just a one-time thing, and I got it sealed properly this time, and it's not gonna wiggle loose again, because when it goes completely flat, it takes a whole lot of air to get it pumped back up. So, and you know, everything's out of whack. This fender, it's on there pretty well. It's, I'm pretty happy with how square it is to the whole rig. Let me square to the tire. So, yeah. As you can see, we got the black lug nuts on there now. I painted that black. Turned out pretty good.